Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This video is about the Lisa Eldridge True Velvet Lipsticks because I own all the shades, so let's get swatching. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This is going to be the long-awaited update of the Lisa Eldridge True Velvet line. I finally managed to get my hand on all of these shades. Since this is a more of an expensive brand, it definitely takes me a little bit of time to sometimes catch up with some of the releases that are out there. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be swatching all of these on my lips for you today so you can see what all of these lipsticks look like on a fair, cool tone complexion. And we're just going to get cracking. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, then hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have a fair skin tone with a cool to neutral undertone, which means that a lot of makeup just pulls a little bit differently than on most people that are in the makeup reviewing sphere. I've been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love my eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. And because my Lisa Eldridge lipsticks have pretty much replaced all of the lipsticks I used to own, I wanted to come on here and do this video again. So I hope you'd like to consider subscribing by clicking this subscribe button down below. So there are 23 lipsticks in this lineup at the moment, and I'm going to be swatching all of them from lightest to darkest. First up is Velvet Intrigue, and Velvet Intrigue is the lightest nude toned option. This is a very beige, peachy toned nude, which I don't necessarily love on myself because I have that cooler to neutral undertone, but I have found with Lisa Eldridge that there's always something in the undertone that can still make it work, even if you think a shade may not be perfect for you. I definitely have my favorites, so we'll get to that when we get to that. This isn't one of them. I don't tend to wear this a lot. I kind of have this to do videos like this. So this is what Velvet Intrigue looks like. As I mentioned, it's not my favorite. It's a little bit too peach for me to really love it. But for a very light shade like this, what I usually struggle with is that my natural, more purpley, more intensely pigmented lip color can go through it. And with this, I feel that's not necessarily the case. I can definitely see it a little bit in my lower lip, but other than that, it's pretty fine. And as you can see here, it does have a little bit of pink running through it, which is why I think it still works for me and I can still get away with it. Next up is Velvet Fawn, and this is another one that is not necessarily my favorite when it comes to the nudes in this range, because I feel it's just a touch too yellow toned for my liking, but it is a very pretty, more brown tone nude. So here you can see what Velvet Fawn has to offer. I like this, but I think actually that the more pinky undertone of Velvet Intrigue is perhaps a little bit better for me. This pulls almost a little bit too warm toned and it kind of disappears against my skin tone a bit too much. I like there to be just a little bit more contrast because I look quite pale. It kind of drains me, I feel. Can I get away with it if I were to pair this with a darker lip liner? For sure, that's definitely a tip if you do have a lipstick that doesn't look quite right on you. You can always correct it with a bit of a lip liner moment. Moving on to Velvet Affair, which is like the deeper version of Velvet Fawn, really. If you hold these side by side, they look like Affair is just a shade darker to what Velvet Fawn has to offer. Let me swatch it out. So this is what Velvet Affair has to offer, and I like this a little bit better than Velvet Fawn simply because it is deeper, but you can just see that it is perhaps a little bit too warm toned for me. It definitely clashes a bit more, but because I have brown eyes and my hair isn't super duper light, I feel I can still get away with it. I have my hair up today, like out of my face, just so it doesn't mess with anything, but if I were to wear my hair in my face a little bit more, I think it would work even better. And especially if my eye look is a little bit more sultry like I'm wearing today, it definitely works. So Velvet Affair is becoming a bit more successful for me. Next up is one of my favorites. This is Velvet Muse. If I were to recommend one nude from this entire lineup, it would be this one. This is intense, it's got a bit of a cooler undertone, which is why I feel it works much better for me, and these are incredibly long wearing. I haven't said much about the formula, but there's a reason why I wanted to own all of these, because I just feel it's the best lipstick formula on the market. They are matte, but non-drying, and they do last an entire workday on my lips. And that's what Velvet Muse looks like. You can just see that it's just a touch lighter than Affair, and it's got that hint of purple running through it. It is definitely my lips, but better for me. If I don't know what to wear, I tend to wear this lipstick, and it works on me every single time. I love this thing to pieces, and I think it's the most flattering one till now. Here's a shade I haven't shown you before. This is Velvet Sorcery. This was launched in the fall time last year, and this is the reason why I couldn't film an update any sooner, because this sold out really quickly and it wasn't brought back until about a month ago. So I wasn't able to purchase it at the time. I missed out on it and I was like, okay, I'll do a video when I have this one. This is like a deeper version of Velvet Muse. It's described as a mauve on the website, but on me, it pulls far more brown toned. And I definitely think that that's something that you need to know about the Lisa Eldridge lipstick ranges, is that it's pretty neutral to warm toned, and there aren't that many true cool tone shades. However, every single shade will have a bit of a cooler undertone in the blend. So depending on your skin tone, it's gonna pull differently, but I think this is going to be very, very perfect for people with deeper skin tones than mine. So here is Velvet Sorcery, and compared to Velvet Muse, it looks like a red. And also on me, it's got this reddish brown undertone, and it doesn't pull as purpley as I'd like it to be if I'm wearing a mauve lipstick. I love mauve tone pinks, but this mauve brown shade I think can be really stunning if you have like deep olive or maybe really deep skin. It's going to be a perfect nude on you. On me, it definitely does a little bit more, and I do like it. It kind of gives me this sepia kind of look with my brown eyes and then like some of the darker bits in my hair. I still think it's very flattering, but it's definitely different from what I had expected, because it was definitely marketed as a cool toned mauve tone shade, and I don't feel it is. We're moving into the pinkier shades now. This is Velvet Blush Lightly. And this is what Velvet Blush Lightly looks like. This is one of those lipstick that whenever I put it on, I'm like, oh, I should wear this more often because it is really beautiful on me. I prefer Velvet Blush though, even though she made this because a lot of people found Velvet Blush too dark on them. But I prefer a little bit of depth in my lipsticks, or like a brightness to them. And this is sort of like that in between where it's not quite a pink, not quite a mauvey purple, it's not quite a brown, but it's something like very much in between. I definitely think this is one of the lipsticks that has a bit more of a cooler undertone, which I can definitely appreciate. I still think this is very beautiful. It goes with a lot of different looks for sure, and I just need to wear this more often. So let's swatch Velvet Blush next, and this is also again one of my most worn shades. I wear this a lot in the fall season, I just do. So here in the swatch on my hand, you can see the difference between Velvet Blush Lightly and Velvet Blush. And I hope you can see what I mean when I say that I think Velvet Blush is better on me than Velvet Blush Lightly. On me, it's got a much stronger purpley undertone, which I really enjoy. It's one of the more cooler things that the line has to offer, which is why it works. And this in the fall time with like a berry eye, berry blush, and you get this really lovely monochromatic look. If you haven't tried it yet, please do. And this one I hope still works because this is Velvet Beauty, and the last time I put this on my lips in a lip swatch video, it actually broke off, so I hope it still works. But this is the coolest thing that is on offer in the entire line. This is the most purple any of these lipsticks have. So there is what Velvet Beauty looks like. This is one of the more successful ones for me. It is a pink, but it's got a lot of purple running through it, which I love. Sadly, mine broke off. I have heard though that the customer service is that good that even if your lipstick is a little bit older and you get in touch with them and you say that it's broken off, because this is completely broken off at the base, like not like halfway through, like it just sits like that. So that's a bit of a shame, but apparently the customer service is that good, I've heard. I'm gonna have to contact them about this and see if they can refund me or maybe send me a new one. That would be lovely if they are willing to do that, but I think I can fix it if I were to like melt the lipstick and I can like put it back in, but it's pretty much unusable now because I can feel it wobbling around as I apply it. Moving on to one of the newer lipsticks again in the range. This is Velvet Rain, which was launched when Velvet Sorcery also launched in the fall time. So Velvet Rain is one of those shades that when you look at the description and you look at this lipstick bullet, it's not one where I'm going to be like, wow, I'm going to love this. I think this is going to be the best lipstick on me. And then I put it on And it works. Like, it's pink, but it's not too pink. And that was something, one of the reasons why I didn't purchase this lineup that was launched last fall straight away. Because it was very pink heavy, and I'm not a lover of pink lipstick on myself. It's a bright pink or nothing at all, but there's just something about it. It pulls a bit more neutral on me. It's like a neutral pink. It's got a bit of warmth, but it's like that perfect rosy pink that's this middle of the ground. I don't think I've ever tried a lipstick like this. Next up is another very light shade. This is Velvet Petal. And that's what Velvet Petal looks like. This is actually a touch too light for me because my natural lip color is coming through quite strongly, I feel. So it's almost on the too pale side, but I think that it's like the lighter version of Velvet Rain. I didn't really do this swatch any justice, did I? But yeah, it's like the lighter version of Velvet Rain. So I think I would wear Rain over Velvet Petal now that I have both. Then we're getting into the brighter territory. This is another newer shade. This is Velvet Pompadour. And here's what Velvet Pompadour looks like. This is nice, but I also own Velvet Carnival, which is going to be the one I'm going to swatch for you next. And that's that really bright, intense pink shade. And I think I like that better than I do this. This is a little bit too muted. It does have a really nice bluish purple undertone. So it's quite cool toned, which is actually a bit surprising to me because on the back of my hand and also in the bullet, I feel that cooler undertone doesn't really come through. But on my lips, I think it goes really well. And I think that this is just a really nice, more fresh, pink look. I think this is stunning in like the spring summer season if you want a bright pink, but it's going to be a bit more muted down. Velvet Carnival is next. Why this isn't in the insanely saturated range, I don't understand. It is a true velvet though, but this very easily could have gone into the insanely saturated because this is the brightest option of any of the true velvets that occurs in this lineup. And here's Velvet Carnival, which, as bright as it looks in the tube, I think it's one of the best bright pink lipsticks. I remember when she launched this, Lisa Eldridge described it as her version of Candy Yum Yum by MAC, which I also own. I feel that Candy Yum Yum has more white pigment to it. This is a bit more blue toned, I feel, which is why it looks a little bit purple on me, which is why I love it. It's just one of the best bright pinks in my entire makeup collection, and I love it. Going into the red territory now, and this shade just launched. It's the reason why I placed the order, because they restocked all of the shades from the True Velvets when Bloom launched. This is limited edition for this summer, it says. I'm not sure how limited edition it's going to be, because she launched some insanely saturated lipsticks last year, said they were limited edition, but you can still get all of those shades. So I'm not sure how limited edition this is actually going to be, but Velvet Bloom is described as a pink-toned red. So that is what Velvet Bloom looks like, and I feel that in terms of like a red that isn't quite a red, I'm sort of torn. Do I like this? Do I not? I think it looks more flattering on me on camera than it does if I look in the mirror right here. So it does make my teeth look whiter, I feel. So that's always a bonus. And it does have a bit of a, like a raspberry red, I would call it. That's how I would describe it. It's like that ripe fruit kind of thing. But I think I prefer this kind of shade in the Luxuriously Lucent line. I think a shade like Wonder Wheel or Atomic Cherry can be shades that can give you this kind of vibe, but with a sheer, more glossy formula. So in a sheer, more glossy formula, I think this is going to look a lot better than in this more full-on true matte sort of situation. However, of course, you can blot this, you can take most of it off, you can only apply a sheer layer. I've applied it full on, so you can do a lot with these lipsticks and you can really adapt the shades if you find them too intense for you. And then we need to talk about my favorite. My most worn Lisa Eldridge lipstick is Velvet Ribbon. This is one of my favorite reds in my entire collection. It's very bright, very intense, but it's that classic blue-toned pillar box red that I just love. And here is what Velvet Ribbon looks like on me. This is the oldest lipstick by Lisa Eldridge I have in my collection. This is one of the first ones I bought a few years ago. It's still going strong. It still goes on opaque. It doesn't have any weird tugs or it doesn't smell weird. Mine hasn't broken at all. It's just such a good one, and whenever I wear this, it just makes me happy and it puts a smile on my face. If I want to wear a red, this is the one I go for now. And then we also have some orange toned reds in this range, and I'm gonna do the rest of the reds on my wrist here because this is getting a little bit out of hand. So we're gonna kick things off with Velvet Morning, which is the most orange toned one in the lineup. So that's what Velvet Morning looks like, and I think it looks stunning, but I know that I've just gotten over the whole, like, orange toned red moment. I used to wear it a lot in the summertime. It was my favorite red to wear, especially something like Max Lady Danger. But I feel that this makes my teeth look a little bit yellow, and it just isn't the best. I think if you have really deep skin or if you have a much warmer undertone than I do, that this can be a really good one for you. On me, it's okay, it's pretty, but I would wear a velvet ribbon over this any time of day. Next up in the orange toned reds is perhaps one of the most unique orange toned reds by any brand, and this is Velvet Dragon. So that's what Velvet Dragon looks like, and I think it works better on me than Velvet Morning does. Weirdly to say, usually I would go for the brighter option rather than something that's this brown toned. But I feel that that's why it works. It makes it more red, but it's got quite a strong yellow undertone. So that has to be your cup of tea. It's got quite a bit of yellow running through it. It's like more of like a yellow tone brown almost, rather than a true red. But I feel that this works much better for me because of my brown eyes and my slightly darker blonde hair as well. So this is a lovely one. I think you can really amp up a look. This is lovely in like the fall winter season. And if you're ready to spice things up even more, I have Velvet Cinnabar for you. Velvet Cinnabar, everyone, and this is quite possibly one of my favorite shades for the fall time because this is absolutely stunning. So this is stunning in the fall time. I really like the look of this with like a warmer toned eye, maybe a bit of a peachy brown tone blush, can be really stunning. I really like this. I have compared this in a short to something like Max Chili, which is another one of my fall favorites, and they are similar-ish, but they're not quite dupes, as in it's not exactly the same shade. And I have found some dupes in KIKO lipsticks actually for some of these, so I'll make sure to link you to my KIKO lipstick review down below as well, so that you can see if you're looking for more affordable alternatives that the KIKO Velvet Passion range actually does have some dupes. Then a deeper classic red is Velvet Jazz, which is another one of my favorites. And this is Velvet Jazz. This is my shade I like to wear around the holiday season. It's like Christmas red for me. And fun fact, I went to New York a couple of years ago and created some lipsticks in the Bite Beauty lab. And one of the things I wanted to create was a deeper red that wasn't too berry toned. What did I create? This actual shade of lipstick. There's a reason why this works for me, and I've known it all my life. I love this sometimes even better than I do Velvet Ribbon, because Velvet Ribbon is such a punchy, bright red, and if I want to mute it down and tone it down, but I still want to go for that red shade, I opt for Velvet Jazz. And the final shade I haven't shown you before is Velvet Duchess. This was also launched last fall. And here is Velvet Duchess. As you can see, it's like Velvet Jazz, but with a hint of plum. It's very close together. Here we have Velvet Jazz, which seems to have a bit more brown here on my arm, and then this just seems to have a little bit more of a blue purple, so it's much cooler toned. Really stunning as well. I think by now, like if I have to pick my top 3 favorite reds, it's Velvet Ribbon, Velvet Jazz, and this one for sure. I think this is really, really stunning, but this is what I meant with like a plum toned red. Like the minute reds became darker a couple of years ago, everything would turn into this slight berry undertone, which I don't always like. Which is why I think I still rate Jazz just a little bit more highly, because it is more unique in the grander scheme of things. It's completely up to you. If you want something that's a little bit more cool toned, then I think this is a stunning one. But the deepest red in the range is Velvet Myth, and there are 3 incredibly deep, darker, vampy shades. One is a bit more red, one is a bit more brown, and one is a bit more purple. Velvet Myth is the more red-toned option. And there we have Velvet Myth. On the back of my arm here, you can barely see the difference between Velvet Duchess and Velvet Myth. Myth, I feel, is even more berry. It has even more purple, and it pulls more towards a deeper berry shade than any shade so far. On me, it's incredibly vampy, which if you're fair-skinned, is just gonna happen with these deeper lipstick shades. But this, on someone with a very deep complexion, I think it's going to be a wonderful shade for you. It is absolutely gorgeous on people with deeper skin tones, and it's going to look far more neutral than it does on me. The final 2, this is Velvet Decade. And here we have Velvet Decade. Now my lips are incredibly stained, so there was already a lot of red going on in my lips, but this actually pulls like a chocolate, like a dark chocolate on me, but it's got a bit of gray running through it and red. So it looks a little bit, well, not strange, I would say, but it's just not really going with my undertone at all. However, this just blotted down and maybe like buffed in with a bit of an eyeshadow brush can look still really stunning if you are more fair-skinned, but this is again a lipstick that's more for all of the deep-skinned people out there. But the deepest thing that this range has to offer is Velvet Midnight. And that's Velvet Midnight. This is incredibly vampy, but I think it works better for me than Velvet Decade does because it's just a lot more cool toned. This is a straight up deep blackberry purple kind of shade. Reminds me a lot of some MAC shades that people used to rave about, something like MAC's Sin. I think MAC also had a blackberry colored lipstick, something like this, really very much. Again, stunning if you have a much deeper complexion for sure, and it's gonna give less of a contrast than it does on me. So a situation in which I can see this lipstick work is if I were to do that Charleston 1920s kind of look, where you have like this really dark, sultry eye with some of these like burgundies and plums, and then this lipstick for sure. It's gonna give you that Clara Bow kind of moment, and I'm here for it. It's just not something I'm gonna be wearing on the daily. So I hope it was helpful to see all of these swatched out on my fair skin with a cool neutral undertone, because undertones just matter when it comes to lipstick shades, and I hope that this video can help you to make your decisions if you are looking into buying some of these, because these are a little bit more expensive, and this way I hope you have a good enough overview. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Of course, I'm going to be trying more Lisa Eldridge in the future, you can bet on it. Those new Velveteens, I definitely want to see them in real life first. I'll be traveling to London in August, so I'm going to be hopefully seeing them in real life, and then I can pick up a few of those. I'm not much of a liquid lipstick kind of person though, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to be buying all of those to do a lip swatch video, but I might. If that's something you're interested in, definitely let me know in a comment down below, because then I'd be willing to do it for sure. But it's gonna take a while because I think there are 8 shades and I'm not sure how expensive they are. So it's gonna take me a few months to like buy a few of them at the time. So, because I do have to, I did pay for all of this with my own money. This isn't sponsored. I've never been sent any products by Lisa Eldridge at all. So just for full transparency here. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me today, you guys. Thumbs up this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!